Hello, thank you for joining us today. I'm Dr. John McGrath. I'm a GP based in NCL, and I'm one of the clinical leads for the NCL PCART programme. I'm joined today by my colleague,
Bengi Bezada. I'm also a clinical lead for the NCL PCART programme.
And we're here to talk about what the world is so excited about, whether it's the music industry, the media, or indeed medicine. Everyone is talking about AI and what it's going to do for the rest of our lives. What are we specifically here to talk about today, Bengi?
So we're here to talk about Ambient Scribe AI. It has been on our radar for probably the best part of a year now, but the heat's ramped up about it because Acrix is about to launch their product in a couple of weeks' time called Acrix Scribe.
Okay, so we're talking about Ambient AI Scribe, multiple providers available, but this moment triggered by the imminent launch of a new product across lots of NCL practices. So Bengi, there's multiple companies that are selling products or promoting products that are used in general practice. What are some of the names of the companies that we might be familiar with?
So I'm sure everyone's heard of Heidi. That's probably the biggest player at the moment. And there's also Tortoise, which has been used as part of a pilot within NCL. On top of that, other scribing tools that are approved within our locality include Anima and also the eConsult Talkback tool as well.
Okay, so we're aware that there are a number of different providers and that some people may already be using these technologies in their practices. I suppose for me, why? What's the problem that these solutions are trying to solve? What's the reason for thinking about using them?
So most of these products are being advertised as giving you some time back. They say for a full-time GP, you can save an hour a day because it takes away the time for you having to write in the notes, because it does the writing for you and allows you to concentrate more on listening to the patient. Okay,
so something about saving time in the consultation, but there's also been commentary about how that can improve the quality of the notes that we're sharing with patients.
So in my experience, that's definitely been the case. I thought I wrote decent notes, but my pharmacy team have said, "Oh, Bengi, your notes are so much better now. You're using Tortoise." So I have to admit that my notes have improved now that I'm using Ambient Scribe AI. And what I've also noticed is that it's not just better for my clinical colleagues to read, it's actually written in a format that a patient can easily access it through the NHS app, so you don't need to send them a summary. I think the quality of the output from the Ambient Scribe is good enough for a patient to understand too.
Okay, so there's lots of challenges that we face in general practice. This isn't going to solve everything, but it may help with time spent in consultation or documenting consultation and with clarity and accuracy of clinical notes.
Yeah, there's one other benefit as well. So over time, we used to have a practice secretary who would do referral letters for you. Then we started using electronic dictation, and that was used by the older GPs. The younger GPs felt they could type faster. And the practice secretary function has sort of eroded within general practice. So work has been handed over to the GP to type and send off their own referral letters. What the Ambient Scribe tools have is a letter generating function too. So it can either work out a letter for you out of the consultation, or you can use a separate feature within the Ambient Scribe to generate a referral letter.
Okay, sounds exciting. Okay, brilliant. So, those are some of the really great things about what AI Scribe can do, but I'm aware that there are some concerns and there are some common pitfalls, I think, that the technology as it's emerging still has. Tell us a bit about what those are and how we think about that in practice.
So as I mentioned earlier, the AI tool is ignorant. You shouldn't be thinking of it making any clinical interpretations or making any clinical decisions. That clinical responsibility sits solely with the clinician. So when the summary has been generated and then you have to enter it into your EMIS record, you need to check it very carefully. There's this thing called hallucinations where it makes things up, and it does make things up. If you're not very explicit in what you're saying to the computer, it will try and fill in the gaps. Sometimes it gets it right, sometimes it gets it wrong. One complaint I've heard is, there's too much detail in the notes now, Bengi. And possibly that's true. I actually find the more rich history you have now usually useful. You may want to change your configuration just to miss out certain things, or you may find that there are sentences that are irrelevant that you just delete out before you paste it into EMIS.
Okay, so I mean that makes sense. It's checking what a transcription service is doing before we enter that into a patient's medical record that then they are able to view, or if you've inserted the right permissions, not able to view, depending on the content of it. Are there any other pitfalls that you have learnt to manage in a different way?
So I've done demonstrations in various settings. I've done it in consulting rooms. I've done it in an open plan office. What I noticed recently is that you need to make sure your sound settings are right. I think that a separate webcam that sits on top of your monitor normally has good enough microphones to record you speaking. I know some of the providers give you microphones on top of that. If you're in a crowded area, the AI can't hear everything clearly, and the transcription will be poor, and therefore the summary will be poor too. So you need to make sure that the sound is being recorded accurately.
Okay, so it's not just technical things about how we implement it from a policy position. There's also some functional requirements about what your room needs to look like and how we manage that. But thank you for explaining the really clear difference it's made to the quality of your clinical notes. And if I can get rid of some of my spelling mistakes, that would be fantastic. Okay, well, I mean, AI, of course, is super exciting. We're aware that there are real enthusiasts who really want to get on and use this technology now, if they're not already doing so. But I suppose at this moment in time, what would you say are some of the key bits of advice that we should be giving to practices and to individuals working in general practice?
So I think a practice should choose one tool that's approved and stick with it and learn together how to optimize the usage of that tool. I think you need to get your trainees involved actually, because they're keen to use the tool. They do need to learn how to write in the notes, but they do need to learn how to use these tools as well. And they will support deployment across a practice. What I found, without additional support, that the enthusiasts get on and use it, and then the majority of the practice are a bit afraid to use it. And I think you need to have a clear program in place to ensure that everyone gets a little bit of hands-on, one-to-one training to help them set up their configuration, and also to get their configuration to evolve over time. There should be regular practice meetings where you discuss how your life is with the tool, and a facility to adapt your configuration once, twice, 3 times on a monthly basis.
Okay, I mean, what's being described there really clearly is how we approach and adopt change, whether it's in general practice or in other settings. But some consistency about what you're trying to achieve and some clarity as a practice about what you think this can do for you. And then that stepwise approach that Bengi's describing. This is not going to be the perfect first time you use it. There's some clear rules about using it properly, but then that learning about how to use it practically across a range of consultation types and skills that you need to demonstrate within the consultation room. There's something I'm hearing really clearly about using people who are enthusiasts, so early adopters. You've mentioned trainees. Not all practices are training practices, but using people who are enthusiastic in your practice to share their experiences and to help with widespread adoption. And I think part of what I'm hearing, one of the reasons that we're putting this video together is there are lots of us trying this stuff in primary care, and an opportunity to talk to each other about what it looks like and how it adds value in your own clinical setting is really key to thinking about how we approach change.